Look, what just went down in Ashburn might decide whether Quinn stays or gets fired in 2026. A 30-year-old offensive coordinator who has never called plays now holds Jayden Daniels' future in his hands. Deebo Samuel just revealed the exact moment everything fell apart this season. And Quinn is scrambling to hire a defensive coordinator because he knows if he doesn't fix this defense, he's done. Stick around till the end, because what's coming will leave you speechless. And if you're a real fan, hit that subscribe button right now. News 1, the risky bet on David Blau. Look, I know a lot of you are confused right now. I know you're asking what the hell is going on in Ashburn, and you have every right to be, because Dan Quinn just made a move that could either save the 2026 season or bury us in mediocrity for good. The Commanders just promoted David Blau to offensive coordinator. Yeah, you heard that right. David Blau, the same guy who was just the quarterback's coach a few weeks ago, the same guy who has never, and I mean never, called a single play in his professional career. And now he's in charge of running Jayden Daniels' offense. Think that's crazy? I'm telling you this. It's the boldest gamble Quinn has made since he landed in Washington. But let me break down why this could either work or completely blow up in our faces. Blau is 30 years old. 30. When Sean McVay got hired as head coach of the Rams, he was 30. Matt LaFleur was 37 when he took over in Green Bay. Kevin O'Connell was 36 in Minnesota. The difference? Those guys had already been offensive coordinators. Blau hasn't. He went from QB coach to OC in a matter of weeks. Now here's where it gets interesting. Blau played quarterback under Ben Johnson in Detroit and Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. Two of the brightest offensive minds in the league right now. But then he coached under Cliff Kingsbury here in Washington. And those are two completely different systems. Johnson and O'Connell run heavy, play-action-based West Coast schemes. Kingsbury is all air raid, spread, fast tempo. So what system is Blau going to run? A hybrid? Copy what he saw in Detroit? Keep parts of Kingsbury's system that worked with Daniels? Nobody knows. And that's what has me worried. Because we Commanders fans know this team can't afford to experiment. Not after a 4-13 season. Not after watching Jayden Daniels dislocate his elbow against Seattle. Not after losing 8 straight games. This team needs stability. A proven system. Someone who knows exactly what they're doing. But here's the upside. Blau has worked with Jayden Daniels since day one. He knows his strengths. He knows his weaknesses. He knows exactly what Daniels needs to level up. The chemistry is already there. The trust is already there. The Detroit Lions wanted to interview him for their OC job. That says something. A team that just made the Super Bowl wanted this guy on their staff. That's not a coincidence. Blau is highly respected around the league, even at his age. I think the reason Quinn made this move is because he couldn't risk losing him. If he waited another week, Detroit would have scooped him up. 2 weeks. Another team. Quinn had to act fast or lose him forever. But here's my question to you. Are you willing to bet Jayden Daniels' development on a coach who's never called plays? Because that's exactly what Quinn is doing. He's betting everything. His job, the franchise's future, all of it, on a 30-year-old with 0 play-calling experience. Now let me remind you of this team's history. Remember when we hired Sean McVay as OC in 2014? He was 28. Nobody knew who he was. And look what happened. He became one of the best head coaches in the league. Remember Matt LaFleur? He was here too. Kyle Shanahan, Kevin O'Connell, all of them passed through Washington before becoming top-tier coaches. Will Blau be the next one? Or just another failed experiment? I'm telling you this. Quinn is betting that Blau is the next McVay, that he's got the talent, the vision, and the brains to become one of the league's best offensive minds. But that's a massive gamble, because if Blau fails, Quinn is toast. No second chances, no more excuses. If the offense doesn't improve in 2026, if Daniels doesn't take that next step, if we keep seeing the same questionable play calling we saw under Kingsbury, Quinn's getting fired, and probably Blau too. But if Blau succeeds, if he builds a system that brings out the best in Daniels, if he creates a dynamic, explosive offense, then Quinn looks like a genius, and we'll all be celebrating. Let's talk about what we actually know about Blau as a coach. When Tavita Pritchard left to coach at Stanford, Blau got promoted. And in that short time, internal reports said Daniels fully trusted him, that Blau knew exactly how to maximize his skill set, that their relationship was elite. That matters, because in today's NFL, the relationship between the OC and the QB is everything. If there's no chemistry, no trust, the system falls apart. Doesn't matter how good the playbook is. I think Quinn saw that chemistry and said, I can't let another team take this guy. So he made the call. Fast, aggressive, risky. But here's the reality. Blau has never built a full game plan, never made halftime adjustments as a coordinator, never managed the clock, never had to decide when to go aggressive or when to play it safe. All those things an OC has to do every single week. And the craziest part, he's going to have to learn all of that on the fly in the NFL, with Jaden Daniels as his quarterback, with the 2026 season on the line, with the franchise's future in his hands. Now let's talk about the systems Blau knows. Ben Johnson's offense in Detroit is run heavy with a ton of play action, lots of pre-snap motion, lots of misdirection, and one of the best O-lines in the league to make it work. Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota runs something similar, but with more emphasis on the passing game. West Coast concepts mixed with Air Coryell elements. And he turned Justin Jefferson into one of the league's top receivers. Cliff Kingsbury, pure air raid, spread, fast tempo, lots of RPOs, quick passing game. And that system actually worked with Daniels at times in 2024. So what's Blau going to do? Take the best from each system, build something brand new, or just copy Detroit? I'm telling you this, if Blau is as smart as people say, he'll build a hybrid system, take the run game and play action from Johnson, the passing concepts from O'Connell, and keep some of Kingsbury's tempo that worked with Daniels. But that's easier said than done. Building a hybrid system takes years of experience. You need to know what works and what doesn't. You need to be able to adjust on the fly when things break down. And Blau doesn't have that experience. That's what worries me. Now let's talk about the timing. Quinn fired Kingsbury right after the season. Didn't wait. Didn't explore other options. Just fired him. Then promoted Blau within days. Why the rush? Because he knew if he waited, someone else would grab Blau. The Lions were already knocking. Other teams too. Quinn had no choice. But here's the question. Should he have waited anyway? Should he have interviewed other candidates? Gone after Mike McDaniel if the Dolphins let him go? Looked at experienced OCs? I think he should have. I think Quinn should have done a full interview process. Evaluated every option. Because this decision is too important to rush. But I get why he did it. If he lost Blau, he'd lose the guy with the best relationship with Daniels. And in today's NFL, that relationship is priceless. Now let's talk expectations. What should we expect from Blau in 2026? A top 10 offense? Top 15? Or are we still going to be stuck in mediocrity? I'm telling you this. If Blau is really that smart, we should see a top 12 offense at minimum. We should see Daniels take a major leap. We should see a system that brings out the best in our playmakers. But if we don't, if we keep seeing the same bad play calling, if Daniels looks lost out there, then we'll know this hire was a mistake. And here's the truth. Quinn has no margin for error. If 2026 is another losing season, he's gone, and Blau probably goes with him. So the question is, do you trust Dan Quinn to make this hire? Or do you think this is just another mistake in a long list of mistakes? If that shocked you, wait till you hear this! News 2. Deebo Samuel reveals the exact moment it all fell apart. We all know this season was a disaster. No sugarcoating it. We went from 12-5 and a deep playoff run to 4-13 and the 5th overall draft pick. It was humiliating. It was painful. It was everything we didn't want to see after the magic of 2024. But do you know exactly when it all went downhill? Deebo Samuel just told us, and the answer might surprise you. After the 27-10 win over the Chargers in October, Samuel said in an interview with WUSA 9, "Everything just falls apart. That was our 3rd win of the year. We were 3-2. Things looked solid. We had just beaten a playoff team convincingly. And after that win, we won 2 more games. 2 in the next 3 months. We lost 8 straight. 8! In today's NFL, with all the parity, losing 8 in a row is almost impossible. But we did it! And Samuel just confirmed it all started right after that Chargers win. Let me ask you this. How does a team that just beat a playoff team 27-10 collapse that hard? What happened in that locker room? What happened at practice? What happened with the coaching staff? Because when Samuel says everything just falls apart, he's not just talking about losing games. He's talking about a full-on breakdown, a mental collapse, a team that lost all confidence in itself. And you know what happened right after that Chargers win? The fumble against the Bears that cost us the game. The same team we beat with a Hail Mary the year before crushed us because we couldn't protect the ball. It was like the universe was saying, remember that 2024 magic? Yeah, that's over. Then came the 22-point beatdown by Dallas. And that wasn't just a loss. That was a straight-up embarrassment because Dallas wasn't even dominant in 2025. They were struggling too. But they destroyed us, made us look like a high school team. And in that game, Jaden Daniels got hurt, missed 2 games. And when he came back, he wasn't the same. He was hesitant. He was playing scared, trying not to make mistakes instead of trying to make plays. I think that Dallas game was the real breaking point because after that, everything completely unraveled. Then came Seattle, 38-14, a total beatdown. And in that game, Daniels dislocated his elbow. The exact moment was in the 3rd quarter when he tried to make a play with his legs and landed wrong. We all saw the replay. We all saw him clutching his arm. We all knew it was serious. And just like that, the season was over. Because without Daniels, this team had no shot. Marcus Mariota came in and did what he could. But he's not Jaden Daniels. Nobody is. Now, Samuel said something else in that interview that stuck with me. He said, a lot of our key guys went down. And when that happens, it's hard to fight back. And he's right. Injuries crushed us. Daniels missed time. Terry McLaurin missed games. Other key players went down too. But here's my issue with that explanation. Injuries don't explain everything. Yeah, we lost important guys. Yeah, it hurt. But other teams deal with injuries too. Other teams lose key players, and they don't collapse like we did. I'm telling you this. Injuries were part of the problem, but not the whole problem. The coaching was bad. The decisions in key moments were questionable. And the week-to-week preparation was lacking. Because when you lose 8 straight, it's not just bad luck. It's not just injuries. It's a systemic issue. It's a coaching issue. It's a culture issue. And you know what's most frustrating? Nobody on the coaching staff could stop the bleeding. 8 straight losses. And at no point did anyone figure out how to stop the slide. Let's talk numbers. During that 8-game losing streak, our offense averaged just 16.3 points per game. 16.3. In today's NFL, where teams are regularly putting up 30+, we couldn't even crack 20. Our defense gave up an average of 28.7 points per game during that stretch. 28.7. That's unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. And the turnover differential, -14 in those 8 games. -14. We were giving the ball away like it was Christmas morning. I think those numbers tell the whole story. It wasn't just one thing. It was everything. The offense couldn't score. The defense couldn't stop anyone. And we were losing the turnover battle every single week. But here's what gives me hope. Samuel said the brotherhood in Washington never wavered, that even on the last day of the season, cleaning out lockers, nobody looked like a defeated team. Because they weren't. Von Miller, the veteran linebacker, said he wants to come back for what might be his final year in the NFL. Why? Because he believes in this group. He believes in this brotherhood. He believes this was just one bad year, not the start of something worse. I think that says a lot about the culture Quinn has built. Yeah, we lost 13 games. Yeah, it was brutal. But the players didn't quit. They didn't check out. And that matters when you're trying to rebuild. Let's talk about what happened in that locker room during the losing streak. According to internal reports, there were players-only meetings, tough conversations, moments where veterans like Miller and Samuel had to keep the team together. Because when you're losing 8 in a row, it's easy to give up, easy to start thinking about the off-season, easy to start protecting yourself instead of giving everything for the team. But Samuel says that never happened. that until the end, everyone was fighting. Everyone was trying to figure out how to win. Let me ask you this. Does that make the season less painful? No. We're still 4-13. But does it mean there's hope for the future? Maybe. Because if the culture's strong, if the players really believe in what Quinn is building, then maybe 2025 was just a bad year. Maybe the injuries really were the main factor. Maybe with a healthy Daniels and some roster upgrades, we can be competitive again in 2026. But here's the truth. Quinn has no room for error. If 2026 is another losing season, it won't matter how strong the Brotherhood is. Quinn will be gone. Now let me tell you something Samuel didn't say, but we all know it's true. After that win against the Chargers, something changed in the coaching staff. The decisions got more conservative, the play calling got predictable, and the team lost that edge that defined our 2024 season. Why? Nobody knows for sure, but I've got a theory. I think after starting 3-2, Quinn and his staff thought they could play it safe and still win. They thought they could protect leads instead of attacking. They thought they could play not to lose instead of playing to win. And that was a massive mistake. Because in today's NFL, if you're not aggressive, you're getting smoked. The best teams go for it on 4th down. They're aggressive with their play calling. They're aggressive with their coaching decisions. We weren't, and we paid the price. Now let's talk about Jayden Daniels specifically. When he came back from that injury against Dallas, he wasn't the same quarterback. The stats make it clear. Before the injury, 68% completion, 8.2 yards per attempt, 12 touchdowns, 3 picks. After the injury, 59% completion, 6.4 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, 7 picks. Those numbers are brutal, and they show that the injury affected him more than the team admitted publicly. I think Daniels came back too soon. I think the coaching staff put him in a spot where he had to play before he was 100%. And that cost him confidence. It cost him development, and probably cost him long-term health. Because when a second-year quarterback dislocates his elbow, that's serious. That's not something you bounce back from in 2 weeks. That takes time, rehab, patience. But we didn't have patience. We threw him back out there because we thought he was our only shot to win. And look how that turned out. So what does all this mean for 2026? Can Daniels fully recover? Can he get back to being the dynamic quarterback we saw in 2024? I'm telling you this. If Daniels is 100% healthy, if he has an OC who believes in him, and if he's got the right weapons around him, then yes, he can be that guy again. But that's a lot of ifs. And here's the million-dollar question. Do you think this team can bounce back from a season like this? Or was 2024 just a fluke? And this is who we really are. But now comes the really crazy part. News 3. The desperate search for a defensive coordinator. Dan Quinn finally did what we all knew had to be done. He fired Joe Witt Jr. as defensive coordinator. And now the hunt for a replacement begins. But this isn't just any hire. This is the hire that's going to decide whether Quinn keeps his job or gets shown the door at the end of 2026. Let's be real. If Quinn doesn't fix this defense, he's done. No more excuses. No more second chances. This hire has to be a home run. And the clear frontrunner, Raheem Morris. Morris was just let go as head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And before you roll your eyes and say another failed head coach, let me remind you, Morris is a way better defensive coordinator than he is a head coach. Way better. He and Quinn go way back. They worked together at Hofstra in 1998. Then again in Atlanta in 2015 when Quinn was the head coach and Morris was his DC. They've got history. They've got chemistry. And Quinn loves working with people he trusts. Under Morris, Atlanta's defense jumped from 19th in 2024 to 13th in 2025. And that was with limited investment in defensive talent until the 2025 draft. Imagine what he could do with Washington's resources. I think Morris is the safe bet. He's someone Quinn knows, someone he trusts, someone who's proven he can develop young defensive talent. But Morris isn't the only option, and this is where it gets interesting. Jeff Ulbrich was also on that Atlanta staff with Quinn and Morris, coaching linebackers from 2015 to 2020. Then he became the Jets' defensive coordinator and even served as interim head coach this year. The Falcons are trying to block interviews with him because they want to keep him as their next DC. But if he becomes available, Quinn should be on the phone immediately because Ulbrich might have more upside than Morris right now. Why? Because Ulbrich has been in New York, one of the toughest media markets in the league. He's handled pressure. He's developed guys like Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, and he's shown he can adapt his scheme to fit the talent he's got. I'm telling you this. If I had to pick between Morris and Ulbrich, I'd probably go with Ulbrich. But I get why Quinn would lean Morris. Familiarity, trust, shared history. Now let's talk about Patrick Graham. The Commanders already requested an interview with him. And before you say the Raiders DC, let me remind you of something important. Vegas had one of the cheapest defenses in the league in 2025. Bottom 5 in defensive payroll. And they still finished 7th in defensive DVOA in a division with Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert and Bo Nix. That's impressive. Graham is a Belichick disciple. He's been with the Patriots, the Giants, the Raiders. He's seen different systems, worked with different kinds of talent, and he's proven he can get the most out of what he's got. His defensive philosophy is different from Quinn's. Quinn runs an aggressive, pressure-based defense. Graham runs a more multiple scheme, constantly changing looks to confuse quarterbacks. Could that work with our personnel? I think it could. We've got versatile players, guys who can play multiple roles. And Graham is a master at using that versatility. But here's the issue. Quinn has no personal connection to Graham. And Quinn loves working with people he knows, people he trusts. So even though Graham would be a great hire, he's probably not the favourite. Now let's talk about Jonathan Gannon. He just got fired as head coach of the Cardinals after a rough season. But before you write him off, hear me out. Arizona had one of the worst injury situations in the league in 2025. Kyler Murray missed 8 games. Marvin Harrison Jr. missed 6. Trey McBride missed 4. Their O-line was wrecked. And still, Gannon kept them competitive in several games. Defensively, the Cardinals finished 18th in DVOA. Not great, but not terrible considering the talent. Gannon runs a modern zone-based defense. Lots of cover 2, cover 4, and creative blitzes. That could work with our roster. We've got safeties who can cover, corners who can play zone, and Gannon knows how to maximize those strengths. But again, no connection to Quinn. Gannon came from the Eagles staff, never worked with Quinn, and that probably takes him out of the running. I think Gannon would be a solid hire, but it's not going to happen. Quinn's going to go with someone he knows. And finally, there's Arden Durd from Seattle. The Seahawks had one of the best defenses in the league this year. 3rd in defensive DVOA. 3rd. That's elite. Yes, Mike McDonald is the head coach and runs the defense. But Durda has been there learning, watching how McDonald builds game plans, makes adjustments, develops players. And Durda has history with Quinn. He was on Quinn's staff in Atlanta from 2016 to 2020 as the D-line coach, then followed him to Dallas in 2021 and 2022. That personal connection is there. I'm telling you this. Durda might be the best hire Washington could make on defense. He's got the highest ceiling. He's been learning in the best environment. And he's got the Quinn connection. But here's the catch. He's getting head coach interviews this offseason. The Jaguars are interested. The Saints are interested. And if he lands one of those jobs, obviously he's not coming to Washington. So Quinn has to move fast. He's got to convince Durda that Washington is the place to be, that he can build something special here, that he can be the defensive coordinator and assistant head coach, a promotion from his current role in Seattle. Now let's talk about what this defense actually needs. Because it's not just about hiring any DC. It's about hiring the right DC for the pieces we've got. We've got a massive problem on the D-line. We're not generating pressure. In 2025, we had just 31 sacks as a team. 31. That ranked 28th in the league. Unacceptable. We need a coordinator who can scheme up creative pressure, who can get to the quarterback without blitzing every down, who can maximize the talent we've got on the line. At linebacker, we've got young talent. Bobby Wagner's gone. But we've got guys like Jamin Davis who need development. They need coaching. They need a system that puts them in position to succeed. In the secondary, we've got some interesting pieces, but we need a coach who can develop them, teach technique, put them in position to make plays. I think Morris can do that. Ulbrich can too. Graham definitely. Gannon probably. And Durda absolutely. But here's the question. Who's the best fit for what we need? I'm telling you this. If you want safety, hire Morris. If you want upside, hire Durda. If you want versatility, hire Graham. If you want player development, hire Ulbrich. But Quinn's probably going with Morris because he knows Morris, he trusts Morris, and he knows exactly what he's getting. Now let's talk timing. Quinn fired Witt Jr. right after the season. Didn't wait, didn't evaluate, just pulled the trigger. Why? Because the defense was awful in 2025. We gave up 26.8 points per game, ranked 24th in the league. That's unacceptable for a head coach who's supposed to be a defensive guru. Quinn had no choice. He had to make a change, and he did it fast. But here's the question. Should he have fired Witt Jr.? Or was the problem the talent, not the coaching? I think it was both. Yeah, the talent wasn't good enough, but the coaching was also lacking. Witt Jr.'s decisions in key moments were questionable. Half-time adjustments were non-existent. And there was almost no development of young players. So Quinn made the right call firing him, but now he's got to nail the next hire, because if he doesn't, he's the one getting fired at the end of 2026. Let's talk about something nobody's mentioning. The salary cap. Hiring a top-tier DC isn't cheap, especially when you're competing with other teams for the same guy. Morris is probably asking for 2 to 3 million per year. Durda, around 1.5 to 2 million. Graham and Ulbrich, similar range. Do we have that money? Yeah, but it means less cash for other coaching roles, less for scouting, less for other parts of the organisation. I think it's worth it. Because if you don't fix the defence, nothing else matters. You can have the best defence in the league, but if your defence can't stop anyone, you're not winning games. And here's the truth. Quinn is hiring his potential replacement. Because if the defence doesn't improve in 2026, the new DC is probably taking over as head coach. That's what happened with Ron Rivera. His DC, Jack Del Rio, got fired. Then Rivera got fired. Now Quinn's in the same spot. If Morris comes in and the defense still stinks, Morris probably stays and Quinn gets fired. If Durda comes in and the defense doesn't improve, Durda probably stays and Quinn gets fired. So Quinn isn't just hiring a DC, he's betting his job on this hire. Let me ask you this. Who do you think should be the next defensive coordinator? Morris for the safe play? Durda for the upside? Graham for the versatility? Or someone else entirely? So let's recap everything we just covered. Blau is betting the future of Jayden Daniels without ever calling a single play. Samuel revealed the collapse started right after that Chargers win, and Morris is likely coming in to save a defense that ranked 24th in the league. I guarantee you, we've got more explosive news coming tomorrow because this off-season is just getting started. Adam Peters still has to make free agency decisions. We still have to see what happens in the draft, and we still have to find out if Quinn can actually save his job. Do you think Blau can run the offense with zero play-calling experience? Is Morris the answer on defense, or should we roll the dice with Durd? Or do you think Quinn's already done no matter who he hires? Let me know in the comments what you think. And if you believe Quinn deserves one last shot, smash that like button. If you think it's time for him to go, subscribe for more breakdowns like this, because I need to know what the nation thinks. I need to know if you still believe in this project, or if you've already lost faith. And don't forget to check out the playlist pinned in the first comment to avoid mistakes and enjoy this ride with us. Because at the end of the day, we're more than a 4-13 team. We're a family, we're a community, and we're going to be here no matter what happens. So join us, subscribe, comment, and be part of this Burgundy and Gold brotherhood. And remember, hail to the Redskins!